When it displays in honey color at the front, it's just that the report is loose.
Volunteer work. I know, you know,
Hello. Verizon.
Was it called Transforming the Lives of Underserved Students?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Like it's not,
English grade.
We're gonna go ahead and get started.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, it's David.
Okay, all right, we're rolling. Well, thank you so much for coming in and hearing a little bit about one specific way that there is some transformation going on with underserved children and in partnership with public schools and private schools. And so thank you so much for coming to hear about that. So we are going to talk a little bit about Horizons, which is a national organization. But hello. Hello. Welcome. In doing that, you have we have just me and Dr. Mike Davis. He is the head of school from Colorado Academy, and in Denver, Colorado. It's a kindergarten to high school, pre-K through 12, and so he has a long history with private schools and has a really successful Horizons program as well as just program in general at his school. And then myself, Marianne Bernor, I'm with Horizons National. I was also an executive director of Horizons in Indianapolis, at a private school in Indianapolis. And so we are both here to talk with you a little bit about that. But before we do that, I just kind of want to get a feel for the audience so we know how to best kind of answer some of our questions, the questions I'm going to ask Mike. So 2 things I'm going to ask. I do want you to introduce yourself. We really are interested in the role you're playing in education. If you're an admin, if you're a teacher, what role are you playing? And then also if you've ever heard of Horizons, because that'll give me an understanding of what kind of overview to provide. So I'm going to start on either side.
I'll start. My name is Matt Harrison. I'm from a school called Marin Country Day School in California, just north of San Francisco. And I'm a little under the weather. I apologize for that. I'm a hybrid. I'm an admin teacher type of person. I'm the director of the Makers Lab, and I run a summer program and oversee a lot of curricular development.
My name is Diana McBeath, and I'm a teacher here at Hathaway Brown in the upper school.
I'm Dan Griffiths. I'm head of the upper school at Cat and Gable School in Portland, Oregon, and our new head of school, he's in his 2nd year, Tim Basemore, has a Horizons program in his old school in New Canaan, so he asked me to come to the session. We'll be talking about the possibilities of doing that in Portland.
My name's Dave Sykes. I'm from the Hackley School, which is about 40 minutes north of New York City. I'm a teacher and a dean there, and we're working on trying to bring a Aspire type program to Hackley, a summer and school year enrichment program for low-income students in the community. And I have heard of Horizons because my mother actually started a Horizons program at St. David's in New York City.
Yes, I can see the resemblance now.
Hi, I'm Luana Nissan. I'm the incoming director of community engaged learning at Park Tudor School and a researcher and strategist who does consulting around how you build broad and holistic youth civic engagement programs at your school. So great to be here.
I'm Becky Klein, and I'm a third grade teacher here at Halfway Brown.
I'm Elizabeth Douglas. I'm an early childhood teacher here at HB, and we keep trying to think of ways to have an Aspire early childhood program, and so, yeah.
Takia Howard, from Dayton, Ohio, the Miami Valley School, an administrator, director of community purpose, launching a summer program for rising third graders, as well as developing partnerships broadly with our school and community.
I'm also there with the CLE program at the middle school. Administrator. Also from the CLE program at middle school. The program is about 11 years old. I've been here for 4 years, and yes, I've heard of it.
I'm Willie Adams. I'm from the Head Roy School in Oakland. I'm like you, a hybrid, in that I'm a teacher and also an administrator. We have a program called Heads Up, which is a partnership with the Oakland Public Schools. I have heard of Horizons before. I'm also an activist, so I'm here to see how I can work with other independent schools in the Bay Area to set up similar programs, sort of partnership programs. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you and I should connect.
Definitely. You're not very far away.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much. So I will provide then a general overview, specifically kind of how does this work? How does Horizons work? Who do we partner with? So we work with private schools and colleges across the country who have an interest in making a really authentic impact in their community outside of themselves typically. So the students that are being served directly are primarily public school children, all low income, all qualify for free and reduced lunch. So the private school will identify leadership that they want to kind of hone in and take the helm of the Horizons program. We start off with one kindergarten class, and then we grow each year. So it's a nice slow growth model. We have found that allows for the greatest amount of sustainability long term, because that is a key component of Horizons, is a long-term impact for families, but this long-term sustainability as well, which is why the partnership with private schools and colleges really works well for us. And so the sites across the country you'll see range from pre-K all the way up to high school. Nationally, the graduation rate for students in Horizons programs are 99%, which is outstanding for that demographic. Part of the reason we have those numbers is because of the retention, that long-term impact. We feel really lucky if we have a child for one summer and we don't see them again, but we know the difference is made when they're here and with Horizons every single summer. So nationally, the retention rate's about 82%, which again for that demographic is really outstanding. So we have a niche that we're trying to fill. Most of you, it sounds like, I don't need to say this, but our primary goal is to alleviate summer learning loss for low-income children. It's a compounding effect. It really unfairly targets low-income children. And so one of our primary goals is every summer we want to see these children gain an average of 2 to 3 months in reading and math. And so we target that pretty heavily. We have 15 students in a class, no more. We have lead teachers who are typically licensed teachers. We have an assistant teacher. We have interns who often are interns, high school and college students from the host private school. So it's a really cool blend. So that's where you start seeing some of the benefits from the stakeholders in the private school. There's just a lot of overlap opportunities. And then the second thing we try to do is we try to promote healthy living. So we do that in a couple different ways. One, just by the food we're providing, giving them access to high quality food, but then also we teach every child how to swim, and that's a national component. We serve a demographic that has the highest drowning rates in the country, and so it's a really easy way to teach them a skill that will truly save their life one day, could save their life one day, but also I think it really helps with our retention. So the kids love to swim, and so they want to come back every day, and it's a really cool way to help that. So before we start going into the questions, any other kind of insights you want on just the overview of Horizons before we jump in?
One quick clarifying question.
Yeah.
You said you started with K.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean you build
Mm-hmm.
the grade?
Mhm.
So K first year, then you do K in 1, then K1, 2. How do you, well maybe you'll answer this, but my question is going to be how do you maintain that across so many different grades in the K8 or K12? And if you're going to go into that, you don't have to answer it now. But.
How do we maintain what? I'm sorry,
Well, I
just
mean, the infrastructure, the momentum, the
Yeah.
needed for people, the space needs. Obviously in K, you're very small, and so that scaling can be quite
Again, I
challenging.
think, most of our schools, we have a really healthy, robust summer camps program that we use to make additional revenue for the school, but for the most part, our buildings are, classroom parts of the buildings are empty. So for us, it was very, very easy to accommodate, and you just roll up around a wing in our building, and it was a lot of thoughtful strategic financial planning at the outset to make sure we were maintaining that growth. After 3 or 4 years, and I wasn't there, our person's 19 years old, and I'm in my 8th year as head of school, but my understanding is that the momentum built very quickly. We had some key donors who supported it, but the success and the data, and we'll talk more about that, is really helpful for building that donor base to have confidence in the program.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about the talent part of it.
Yeah.
I'm finding that the funding and the space tends to be the low-hanging fruit. So.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is, except you have to have the talent, right?
Yeah.
The people.
Mhm, absolutely. So yeah, I think we will somehow, we'll address that through the questions. Are there anything else just regarding the overview?
Yeah, I would like to know more about how are the teachers and interns chosen and how are they vetted and how do you keep them accountable that they are actually furthering the mission of
Sure.
Horizons?
Well, since that's kind of come up a couple times now, should we just go ahead and address the teacher stuff?
Yeah.
Do you take your first shot?
Well, I'll back up and I'll get to that. So, again, I'm Mike Davis at Colorado Academy. We're a pre-K through 12 school in Southwest Denver. For me, as a head of school looking, I was really intrigued by Horizons, and it was actually a key thing that drew me to the school. I had been at an Episcopal school in Austin, Texas, St. Stephen's Episcopal School, which is a boarding day school. School with a strong social justice mission. It's a dot of blue and a sea of red in Texas. And a lot of private schools aren't oriented that way, right? And so we had at St. Stephen's a kind of, we call it Stevens Kids, and it was an at-risk youth program. It was totally done internally, and it was not done well because there wasn't the type of infrastructure support, long-term kind of philosophical goals. And so when I was looking at Colorado Academy, I was really intrigued by what Horizons was doing in terms of setting a structure for a program that I think can really help independent schools. We are not typically very good in terms of, most independent schools, I think, in terms of establishing, we're so dependent on teachers for developing their own curriculum. I think that's that teacher kind of question, that if you don't have the right people in place, it falls apart. And then there's that kind of succession idea too. How do you keep things in place? And I think that's where Horizons is very helpful, with some very clear goals that we're all in agreement with, but we're expected to meet in doing the program. So, but in terms of the teacher thing, what's really interesting is, like in Denver, if you look at teacher retention and across the country, and so the numbers are staggering in terms of how many open jobs there are in public schools across the country. Teacher training programs, education programs, we've seen a drop in enrollment. It's a combination of corporate-minded reforms that are really anti-teacher. And what we hear over and over again from public school teachers who leave the profession is that lack of autonomy that they have. And so we have found that actually in Denver public schools I'm sorry, this is being recorded, they're not very good. And it's sad. And we really pride our relationship with Denver public schools, and I think the leadership is trying very hard to address issues, and there's been it's a state with a lot of charter school initiative, and Denver Public Schools has been a school district that hasn't been threatened by the rise of charter schools. But I think, but the graduation rates are pretty poor, and so I think they've been eager to work with us because we're pulling in primarily Denver Public Schools students into our program. And in that process, we found a lot of great Denver public school teachers who are really committed to working with students who are at risk, who I think like the independent school environment that we have and the kind of culture that exists at our school. They have a little more autonomy, I think, than they do probably in the Denver public schools, at least what we hear from them. But they're also really committed. So actually it hasn't, once we kind of got things going in our program, I've gone through now, we've had, because of retirement and then some other changes, I've had 3 executive directors for our program. And in that process, our teacher base has stayed pretty consistent, which has been a really nice thing. What's interesting is very few of our own teachers teach, at least at our school. And I know there's other programs like the New Canaan program where there's a high number of teachers at New Canaan Country Day who teach in the Horizons program at that school. That's been harder for us to maintain just because I think independent school teachers are, you all know, they're working really hard. And I think it's hard to sustain that, and they need that time off in the summer. But my past 2 executive directors have been very good at bringing in some of our teachers in strategic ways. So we have a summer program that's 6 weeks long, and then we have super Saturdays that during the course of the year that kind of are touch points. And we get a lot of our own teachers doing everything from dance to art to STEM projects to outdoor education that I think connects them in close ways to the students of the program.
To add on to that, I would really kind of reinforce what he was saying. In my experience in working with the network, teachers love teaching at Horizons because they get to teach the way they always thought they would in their head when they first started going to school for teaching. One of our philosophies is that we do not have a scripted curriculum, that on Monday, June 21st, this is what you teach and this is what you teach on Tuesday. It's not like that. We really want to attract teachers who have a strong passion for meeting students where they are. So getting to know the classroom and creating projects. Project-based learning is a component of Horizons, and so we really work hard to find teachers who have that natural attraction there. The average lifespan of a Horizons teacher is like 5 to 7 years. So it's pretty long, given that it is a summer program. So so it varies. Some sites have heavy host school teachers. Some it's primarily all public school teachers who come and teach in the summer. It is a great opportunity. What we hear often is for private school teachers, maybe it's at the host school or not, they maybe want to have that time to really target a demographic that's in high need, that they may not always get to reach out to at the private school. And so that's another thing that is attracting to the teachers. Did that help?
Tremendously.
Okay. Great.
I of course have follow-up questions, but don't want to take up any more of your time.
So I'm going to go ahead and start some of those
Okay.
questions. So Mike, can you share with us a little bit about 2 to 3 of the largest benefits you've experienced as a head of school having a Horizons program?
Yeah, so it's been I love our Horizon program, and it's really a privilege to be at a school that has that kind of outreach. I think it helps define for us a real civic purpose, a larger civic purpose for our school, that we have, we're really committed to financial aid at our school, but we have a tuition of $26,000 a year, and in our market that's a really high number. And so we give about $2.6 million in financial aid every year. We have a lot of first-generation college-bound students in our population, including some Horizon students. But I think the benefits for me is the ability to, I think our role in the independent school world is we're creating leaders, like whether we, because of maybe privilege that students have, because of the success of their parents, because of the opportunity to attend a school, all of our schools have this, we're producing students who are going to have, just by their pure good fortune, are going to be in positions of leadership at some point. And for me to use Horizons in a way to leverage that, to talk about our need to really understand the world, and for our own students to kind of experience and get to know students who come from a very different walk of life. So we started our relationship with an elementary school in Southwest Denver, about maybe 2 miles from our campus, that is very low income. And the nurse at the school who is involved in Horizons would describe it, you kind of drive through the neighborhood, and daytime it's fine, but at night it just is a totally different world. And So for our students at our school to kind of begin to kind of a glimpse into the lives of others, to understand that purpose is really powerful. It's also very helpful, I think, from our community perspective, that it gives our parents a way to kind of really get involved in making a difference in Denver. And so we have a number of events, but a big one is we have a wine and dine event, which is a big party basically to raise money for Horizons. And it's mainly, most of the support for our program comes from our own parents. We have some partnerships, we have some outside donors, but it's something that we have done as almost school service learning, to put it kind of crudely, but that's our kind of our philanthropic outreach as a school community, and our parents have really bought in. It is confusing because sometimes they don't understand fully what we have to constantly talk about the relationship. Horizons is part of our 501(c), but the fundraising operations are completely separated, self-sustaining. We have an executive director who reports to me. There's an advisory board, and then the executive director manages all the fundraising as well as all the educational programming and hiring. And we have a really good relationship, and there's a great advisory board that works, but we have to kind of constantly remind our families, okay, this is what Horizons is. And we get a lot of students in our own school community who end up volunteering and teaching at Horizons, including my daughter, who's all really excited about her first summer job will be with Horizons. She will not be paid anything, but she's really excited, and it's I think it's a neat thing for her.
Another thing, I just want to give permission to ask questions throughout. Don't wait until the end. If you do have a follow-up question based off something Mike is sharing or myself, feel free to just raise your hand and we'll address it at that time. Okay. So can you talk more about, you were mentioning some of the involvement of the host school and the parents and the students. Can you talk more about how Horizons or a program like that can benefit the stakeholders at the host school?
Yeah, so I would say, like, for our students, I would just say for my child and for other students, it's a great opportunity right in our own community to volunteer and to learn the value of giving back to others. So our kids will play roles of everything from just being play buddies with the kids, doing PE and activities, doing swimming lessons in the summer, to helping them tutor reading, helping with math, being classroom assistants. I think my daughter's role this summer is to do music. We developed arts program in the school. And again, this elementary school, these kids are coming from very little arts, very little music. So we're able to kind of supplement aspects of their curriculum in ways that are pretty profound. So I think we see the kids doing that. I think for our teachers, that's a harder thing, because I said earlier, it's our teachers are working very hard serving our own population. So it's been disappointing, I think, that we haven't had more work in the summer, but I feel like our past two executive directors have really made some great inroads of finding ways to bring our teachers in. And then our families, so the event I described, this kind of fundraising event, really it's almost like 500 people of our school community come out for this party. And they really are excited about it. It brings us together in a way, in a really, kind of community building way. That's a big focus of our school's kind of identity, is just this sense of community and kind of almost a family-based school. And I think it allows for some great conversations. I think it also helps, and I would say my school does not have historically the deepest social justice orientation as a school. The demographics of Denver it's pretty white. We're in Littleton, and there's a large Hispanic population in Denver, but I think the African American population is like under 5%. So when I've been trying to really push conversations about inclusivity, multiculturalism, it's harder to do that compared to maybe some other areas of the country. But what's great about Horizons is it's allowed some really great conversations, and particularly in this awful political climate we're in right now, to really engage in that work and to talk about why that's important. And I think our families and kids are able to see, to get a broader sense of empathy and understanding of what exists in America. And I think that's what we're all about in terms of that educational piece. But I feel like our volunteers, the parent volunteers, have dove into Horizons with such passion, and it's a really neat thing to see. And they're totally committed. We, primarily, parents of the school who served in board capacities, business people helping with the strategic vision for our kind of long-range plan, but also parents who just want to roll up their sleeves and do some work. And as a head of school, it's kind of nice to have them focused on that, rather than like how we teach math in third grade, right? So it's a very productive way for them to be on campus and kind of stay out of our hair in a way. And I'm so glad it's a big word. I say all this stuff publicly, so, okay, but.
And the private schools that we are partnered with, you know, we have 50 across the country. So the private schools that we're partnered with all look very different. The one in Indianapolis is a small private school, small budget, and it's actually housed in the neighborhood that the Horizon students are coming from. And so it's a really interesting landscape, but again, you know, going with what he was saying, when I was the executive director there, I would say 3/4 of the advisory board were current parents or past parents of the private school. And this is just a way that they wanted to stay engaged with the private school, but they wanted it to have a different focus, something that they really could get behind and buy into. And so a lot of our, another thing actually that I just thought of, there's a lot of schools that partner with nearby colleges or universities in their College of Ed, and that is a great way to recruit high quality teachers, is partnering with them, because this is an opportunity a lot of times for those colleges and universities to use this 6-week experience in the summer as a very strong field experience, whether it's for undergrads or graduate students who, the graduate students are teaching year round, so they don't have an opportunity to really dive into a field experience. And so we've partnered with Butler University, lots of other universities to do that kind of work, to kind of take advantage and have a mutual benefit with staffing there.
Can I ask you a question on that? Is that a voluntary thing, or are you able to work with the college and say this is a prerequisite before graduating?
So there happens both ways.
Okay.
We really do try to reward all teaching staff through payment.
Yeah, okay.
We think that's really important.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
And but there are some other ways. The intern program is another way. The volunteer interns, and that really is open to high school and college students. So we've had, if our staffing is full, but we've had some college students who are just excellent and they still want to be a part of it, we'll find roles for them.
We've had some graduates from our school who are
good.
just they're in college and grad school, and they're not necessarily gonna be teachers,
Yeah.
but they're so competent that they've come in
Nice.
and played roles.
I just think about when I was in school to be a teacher, you know, we did all our teaching courses and, education courses, and then the last year was like, go to the classroom, and to me, that's backwards. I think you should be in the classroom much sooner so that you can see if that's the right trajectory for you. So it seems like a great resource for you guys.
Yeah, and so the teaching assistants a lot of times will use strictly undergraduate students, and the feedback we get from them is amazing as to what kind of, you know, we learned so much in 6 weeks that we've never learned in a class, you know, a lot of that kind of feedback, and we do think it's a really enriching opportunity for
For everybody, sounds
Yeah.
like win-win.
Mm-hmm.
Two quick clarifying
Yeah.
questions. 6-week session or 6 one-week sessions?
6-week sessions.
Mm-hmm.
One
Six
six-
week.
Developing
one 6-week
curriculum.
session.
Yeah.
And do any students from the private school attend the program?
Our arrangement is that with DPS, that they did not want us cherry pick, I don't blame them, right? They didn't want us cherry picking all the great students from this school that we partner with. So we're kind of limited, not by any set number, but just there's an understanding that, so we have some Horizon students who do apply and attend our school. But most actually don't, we consider them part of our community for sure, but they're students at other schools.
So no students from your academy attend?
Only the ones who also are enrolled, but typically we don't admit those kids until they're in junior high or high school. So our program goes pre-K through grade 10, and so we're working on expanding our program. We've been K through 8 for a long time. A couple years ago, we decided let's work on early childhood and get pre-K, and then we're working on kind of having some meaningful high school program, so we can kind of maintain contact with our student population.
Okay.
I have a question. Do you do emotional support or character development in any other programs?
Yes, so that is, I would say, we're really trying to get our hands around how we verbalize this, because we feel like since its inception, social emotional learning and character building is just a part of what we do. And now that it's become a little bit of a buzzword, we're thinking, oh my gosh, how do we tell people we've been doing this forever? How do we kind of package it all together? But a lot of the Horizons programs have value systems that we work from. One of them is a RISE, so Horizons RISE values. It's respect, integrity, safety, empowerment. So there is a lot of that kind of building. within the programs. I mean, I can give lots of examples, but, yes.
Well, I think the swimming, like alone,
Mhm.
like, I mean, and I was a kid growing up in Arizona, and I was a lifeguard, and I worked at a Los Niños school pool, it was a public pool in a, primarily low-income Hispanic area, and I just remember teaching swim lessons, and it's such a powerful, like, it's like you get freedom, like, all of a sudden, you can do something by yourself, and it builds self-esteem and all these other great things. I think that alone is a really cool part of the program. In Colorado, we're trying to do is, we want to leverage, and I'm an outdoor educator too, so leveraging our great geographic location to get kids and address nature deficit issues. It's kind of amazing in Denver how many kids don't get to the mountains, and they're literally right there on our tour. And so, and I think character education, you can really leverage the outdoors in ways to help any kid from any background really develop some key life skills and learn about consequences in ways. I always would joke with students, I'm not gonna let you die, but you're gonna get really comfortable. And, we take kids rock climbing. We have a skiing program. We got a grant from a family, so we're taking our Horizon students skiing up in Breckenridge a couple times a year, and that's amazing. Like just getting on skis for the first time, and our own CA students get out there and they love it. And they're, of course, they don't really like being on the green runs, but it's so rewarding to help students by the end of the day learn how to stand and make it down the mountain without falling. And all these things I think contribute to a stronger perspective.
Yeah, the swimming is a huge piece. I mean, and it starts off, I've had students who literally will hide in the locker rooms, in the lockers, in the locker rooms because they're so fearful of the water. And once we get them out and they get their toes in, oftentimes they're the only one that they know who will learn how to swim. No one in their family knows how to swim, none of their friends know how to swim. And so it's really this being able to say, here is a very tangible skill that you never thought you would learn, and now you know it. Our teachers, I hear them use it all the time in the classroom when they're struggling with a math problem. They say, I hate math, I can't do math. Well, 2 weeks ago you also hated swimming and you didn't want to do that, and now I can't get you out of the water. So yeah, the swimming is a really big piece in that nature.
So, but it doesn't sound like there's like a common language that all the teachers use in terms of like HPV is conscious discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of using the same strategies and the same language to help the children problem solve and self-regulate.
Yep.
But we use the same language within the classroom so that there's consistency with working through the problems.
Yep, so that happens site to site, but that's again one of those pieces where we really want each separate Horizons program to reflect the culture of the host program of the local community. And so if we were to come in as national and say every Horizons program is going to follow this kind of character building methodology, we feel like we would lose some of the authenticity that happens at that level.
In our example, like we really introduced mindfulness, but not in a touchy-feely yoga kind of way, but more like using neuroscience to help our teachers understand how the brain works and how we kind of